Hi, welcome to the 14th. We did
lucky number 13 last week with
Yes.
no problems.
So this is episode 14 of Movie Therapy, the show that's the internet's favorite, unanimously.
Yes. Well, somebody's favorite.
Yes.
Has to be.
I'm guessing that's you.
So, hey, since you're watching, thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Hey,
us.
everybody.
Thank you. So this week's movie is a movie. Your suggestion this week. You wanna go, and then I'll say my
much like the
slogan.
the Cape Fear, the first one we did.
Yes.
This was the same kind of category as it was a movie that I bought when HMV closed, and never watched it. I didn't even read the back of the thing. I had no idea. I knew
just
that
ran through and grabbed crap.
I almost said the name. I knew that it was a classic movie. I knew that it was like worth the $5 it cost me or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, that is one I want to do. So I gave it to you weeks ago, right? Like I gave it to you weeks ago. So
I almost probably say a month. You gave me a bunch of them at once, and he says, "Hey, watch these."
Yeah, and it's one of those movies where if I say this a lot. I haven't seen that one. Somebody's like, "You haven't seen that?
You haven't seen it? It's on our shame list. It was on my shame list, at least.
And the way things go, I'm surprised it's not on Netflix already because every time we do a video,
Netflix maybe our like 1 or 2 views is the executive at Netflix, and they're just waiting to see which one we're doing next week.
Or we're just spot on with our picks for movies. So
maybe Netflix should pay us money because we are helping them out. We should run Netflix, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So without further ado, let's do Escape from New York. So this was a movie directed by John Carpenter. You may know him as the person that directed The Thing, Halloween, the good one. Actually, arguably, when I was really young.
Zombie's not bad, but I mean, obviously, there's nothing better than the original.
Yeah. He also did Big Trouble in Little China. So he's a big Kurt Russell fan.
Yeah,
like
which is on Netflix as well.
Yeah.
I think that was in the podcast that we did with Mark. I think you both unanimously said, You haven't
seen that?
So that's on my list, and I did mean to watch it, but I didn't want to confuse it with this because sometimes if you watch a movie with the same actor, you forget what parts matter. So
you're like, he's running down the street, and then a Chinese man takes him into his. You're like, wait, no, I messed that up. Yeah, sorry.
There aren't too many Chinese people in this movie, so it works out. So this movie was shot in 1981.
Yes.
Action sci-fi. But it starts talking about 1988, which kind of confused me. But I bet you, when it came out, obviously 1988 was the future. Yeah. And then they go even further, and so this movie's actually based in 1997, an alternate 1997, where Manhattan is now the country's prison.
Which, I usually don't like. Well, I'm lying there. I love bringing logic into movies and just kind of going, that's a crap logic.
Yeah.
So Manhattan is a pretty big city.
Yep.
It has it has a crap ton of people, more people in that one city than any city in Canada.
Yep.
And it's one of their most populated cities.
Yep.
So I just really like the idea that one day all of a sudden someone, hey, evict all of them. Even though it's one of the biggest landmarks, we got the Statue of Liberty, everyone loves going to see it, close it down, put a wall around it. Let's throw criminals in it.
The Statue of Liberty actually isn't within the city limits. The Statue of Liberty is just outside. It's in New Jersey.
Really?
Yep. It's actually not in New York. New York takes care of the cleaning of it and everything, but
that's like a big FU to New York.
Well,
your biggest symbol.
I think it was more because that's where the port is, right? But I mean, that's history. You can go Google that somewhere else.
Google that up.
So I think what they did was they used the city with the island, right? So they had the walls built around, way before Trump. Yeah. They got the walls built around, 50 feet walls. All of the criminals in the country are in there, which I'll get to the logic of that in a little bit too. But it's an ideal kind of like middle of the States. Yeah. It's actually, I read the synopsis later, and they're talking about how World War III is actually going on during this whole thing. Oh. And the whole principle of the plot of why the president is somebody they're going after, it kind of makes more sense when you see that it might be the end of a war. Yeah. And that's why he ends up getting dropped. Yeah, so, I mean, one of the most iconic characters that Kurt Russell or anyone's ever played.
Snake.
Snake Plissken.
Yes, Plissken. Have you, so, do you play video games?
No.
Okay, well, there's a game called Metal Gear Solid.
Yep.
I'm not that big of a gamer.
I'm aware of that game.
Yeah.
Snake.
Yeah, his name is Snake. He has the eye patch, long hair. Like, they took...
Yeah.
Like, this one definitely came... I'm not going to say definitely. Probably came out before Gears of War. Not Gears of War.
I think it's
not
pretty
Gears of War.
safe to say.
Yeah, Solid Snake or whatever it is.
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid. So I messed up the name both times. But it's just kind of strange. Like, I was watching, I was like... Well, that's like, they didn't even try to beat around the bush. That's like a straight ripoff.
Better character to take. He's a badass. He doesn't have to say much.
Yeah.
And
this is like a Boba Fett movie. There, we got it. We don't even have to make another one. Yeah. We have the Boba Fett movie we want.
Oh, you make me think about Star Wars in a different way. Always with the Star Wars. Anyway, and then I want to talk about the fact that I never read the movie box, right? I didn't know who was in the movie, which is surprising because, I mean, more times I will read every word on a movie box and may not ever watch it. But if I had have read it, I would have read, what is his name? Lee Van Cleef.
Lee Van Cleef.
Yeah, he's apparently, I mean, I've only heard him in music. Somebody referenced him in a rap song when I was younger, and it made me actually go back and listen to that rap album to figure out where that line came from. And I didn't get the reference before, but now that I see his name, I'm like, okay.
That's what it is.
He basically plays villains in most of these movies, but he's playing the police commissioner in this. And pretty much he goes into New York at one point, and then after that, he just sits at the police station for the rest of the movie. But, I mean, everything he does is badass. The way he talks to people, it's believable. You know? Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know where else you want to go with this. I just have notes point form here.
Let's talk. So, this is an action movie.
Yep.
And I actually had a conversation this week, which ironically, because I never saw this movie either. Mm-hmm. And then I had a conversation, and then I went home to watch this movie. And the conversation was about stereotypes in movies, to relate it to something we were talking about before the podcast. So you guys will be lost. Have you seen Cabin in the Woods?
Yep.
Have you seen Scream?
Yep.
So you know how they're supposed to be like, oh, you know, it's a rip on the genre.
Yep.
It's stereotypes. Mm-hmm. There's like 5 movies that are that stereotype. Like for Cabin in the Woods, it's like, yeah, Evil Dead has that exact location, but like, especially as it gets newer, the only real movies that are the stereotype are the ones that are saying, look, we're making fun of the stereotype. Yeah. And this movie did the opposite, where, you know, the stereotype for action movies is like, oh, I'm not in that business no more, eye patch and ex-servicemen, and I'm like, oh my God, they hit all of them. Like, he's like, I used to protect the president, but I'm not in that anymore. And like, come on, man, you're the only person that can do it. And he's like, okay, yeah, let's go. And I was like, oh, okay. Also, when they shot him in the neck with the poison,
charges,
I immediately went, is this like what they did in Suicide Squad? I was like, please no.
Yeah, you've definitely. I mean, obviously, this is the movie that did it first before other movies did it. I mean, it kind of reminds me of The Purge, the way that movie is set. The darkness of it is. I mean, and it was first of its kind at that time. The dark lenses were used to get less light in there, so that the dark tone is set. The set was painted actually by James Cameron. He did a lot of the New York backdrops because not a whole lot, actually barely any of it is shot in New York. It's mostly shot in St. Louis.
I was gonna say, I don't really think they could get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, like in St. Louis there was a fire. It was not St. Louis, Missouri, but across the Mississippi, St. Louis, Illinois. There was a fire, like in I think I wrote it down here, 1976 or something. Yeah. There was like an urban fire, and there's like several blocks that are all burned out. So they're able to use that. And like nowadays, you just dress a set to look like that. But then they just took an ideal location and ran with it.
I just really like the idea that, like, to role play again. Because I know you love doing that, So I'll just put you in a state of mind. Ready? Okay?
Yeah.
Your house is burned down. You've lost everything. You've lost everything. You're really sad. Maybe you lost a loved one. You're really sad. And I'll be a Hollywood executive. Yeah, hey, that really sucks. But this would be great for a movie set, wouldn't it? Oh my God. This is great. Hey guys, what are the odds? This is exactly what we were looking for. Wow. What luck, right? What luck. And you're sitting there just holding like your one bag of chips. That's all you have left in your life. And they're sitting there like kicking down windows going, yeah, this is great.
Okay. All right.
That's kind of cruel.
Well, I think that, taking the good with the bad, I guess. Like, they're not taking advantage of anyone. They didn't burn it down themselves.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
Okay.
Conspiracy. Maybe they did burn it down.
All right.
Did you know them? Were you there when it burnt?
Okay, Ty.
I'll go get my my tinfoil hat. You want one?
Okay. So.
Okay.
Are we going to talk about the movie at any point?
Yes, we are going to talk about the movie now. Okay.
I was just talking about the filming locations, the technology that I find it awesome. In 1981, they were making up technology, and I mean it could work. Like it's not unbelievable what they're trying to do. Like we look back to when we were talking about Thunderball.
Yeah, Thunderball.
Some of the technology was questionable because it was either a watch or I can't remember what the thing was, but it was like, okay, it doesn't work. It does. There's holes in that logic. But like this, with having the things put in there, you kind of believe it, and even you believe that the person that's doing it, that's working for the police, is like, tell him. It wasn't like he was like, ha ha, we just did this to you. It was the commissioner wasn't going to tell him, and the guy with the actual moral was like, you have to tell him what is going on here, because that's how we're going to get him to do this, right? So I thought that was pretty neat, and it's believable, and Snake doesn't take a whole lot of time angry about things. Like, he gets mad about it and then he accepts it, and he just kind of moves on. So that's why this movie works so well. Is the tension? They get quickly to the tension. It's about half an hour until Snake actually gets dropped into New York. But I mean, the nostalgic that they could never have expected, like the fact that he lands in the World Trade Center, and of course they're not there anymore. Yeah. But in '97 they were, so it still kind of works with the timeline and everything. So, but like what I wanted to talk about was the 3D camera trick that they used for. Did you read about that? When they're coming down when he's coming down with the glider, and it shows the scene of the city. Did you see that? Yeah, I saw, but I don't know what you're talking about here. They didn't actually use computers because back then computers were too expensive to use. So what they did was they actually made a full-scale model, not full scale, but they made a model of the buildings. Yeah. And they put fluorescent tape on it and shot a fluorescent light at it to make it look like it was 3D. So all of those scenes with the black and the green, like the scoping of what the glider sees, is made up technology for that movie. Isn't that amazing? What, really? Yeah. If you go back and look at it again, it's amazing to see how well they did that. Yeah. If we were doing the quick shots here, we could probably look that up. Yeah, we could have thrown it up, but I thought that was pretty awesome. That's pretty freaking awesome. It was pretty ingenious of doing that. So that's the 3D trick. What I was going to talk about with Manhattan, like they're talking about how the crime rates are risen to 400%. Yeah, which doesn't really work for math. From 1988 to 1997, you're saying that there's this much crime, and they're dumping all the criminals into Manhattan, but there's nobody there. Yeah, and considering that U.S. is a giant corporation. Any movie about all the criminals being put anywhere, you take Con Air, you take even The Dark Knight when they had all the criminals on one boat, you would see a ton of criminals. But who does he run into? Everyone he runs into knows who he is.
Yeah, that's also a weird thing.
There's friendly people. There's people dancing.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, I think they've been talking about remaking this movie. Kurt Russell gets in the way of it because he's like, nope, nobody.
Yeah.
I think they had Gerard Butler was going to do Snake, and Kurt Russell was like, no, Snake has to be American. It's an American character. He has to be played by an American.
Yeah.
But first person he runs into that he actually talks to is this cabbie character.
Yeah.
Who I thought was hilarious. Like I laughed out loud as soon as I saw the guy. But I'm just like, what did this guy do to get thrown in here? Was he just here when it all happened? Because he said he's been driving the cab for 30 years.
So he's just like, I'm going to stay here.
But we're talking like, 97 or 88 and 97. So like, I mean, he's been driving the cab for 30 years. I don't know. He was there probably before. He just happened to be sleeping when they built all the walls or something.
That'd be like the worst, when there's, I guess we don't really live in the city. I hear people complaining about like construction outside their house all the time. They'd be like the worst.
Yeah.
Waking up going, oh, no, I'm trapped in here with the construction. That really sucks.
It's that times 400%.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, crap.
And that's where 400% logic comes into play, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's the people that are dancing, are those people criminals? Like everybody that you see, I'm really like scratching my head going,
are they?
It's a pleasant prison.
Yeah, the one thing I don't get, and I just want to know that, like, I really wish they would have put up some banners. Like, I want to know what authorizes you to go in there. Like, what do you have to do? Like, if I steal a Snickers bar, am I going to Manhattan?
Well, probably not. But I mean, I doubt that these people that we see through the movie have even done something that bad.
Like one guy, I don't know what's maybe he had a traffic violation.
Yeah.
Ran through a red light, and maybe that's how the cabbie got there. So they just picked him up in his cab and just dropped him in there.
I don't know.
And he's like, that's fine.
He doesn't seem too upset about being there. And a lot of the characters that you run into, they've kind of that's the post-apocalyptic type thing. Like people have figured out gas source. They figured out some lights. There's some street lights in some areas, which is convenient for lighting when you're making a movie.
Yes, very convenient.
And they use those dark cameras, but I mean, there's obviously light coming from places, and it's pretty awesome. And you see Snake going along, and you see people kind of moving in the background. And John Carpenter's score is awesome. Like his music is amazing. He basically is one of the best for that kind of genre, like the thriller for soundtracks.
I have a question for you, and this is something
that. That's a question.
This interests me as a big fan of directors. I'm wondering what's your how do you feel about John Carpenter? What's your take on the man?
I don't know a whole lot. I know that he did Halloween. I know that he did The Thing, and I can't say that I remember The Thing as well as I would like to.
I got on Blu-ray. You want to borrow it? I can just drop it off.
I would love to borrow it. I think it's actually on Netflix as well.
Of course, everything is.
There's not enough time in a day to see every single movie. I think I've talked about that before, but of course, I'm getting there. Getting there every day. But okay, so what do I feel about John Carpenter? Same thing I've said in other podcasts is there's an absolute respect for him. He hasn't done anything wrong. I don't think he's done a movie that's bombed as far as I know.
Like he didn't make no Waterworld.
No.
I don't think he did. He could have actually made Waterworld. Yeah. I just don't know who.
I'm not sure who did Waterworld.
So you just.
But you didn't like Waterworld, eh?
No, Waterworld was very good.
Yeah.
But so you respect the man, but you don't really know much about him.
No, I don't know much about him. I know that his wife's in this movie.
Yep. My feelings on John Carpenter are a little bit nostalgic, but in a bad way towards him.
Oh, okay.
So my favorite horror film of all time since I've been a kid is Nightmare on Elm Street. Obviously made by Wes Craven, one of the greatest horror directors of all time. He made Scream, The Hills of Eyes, obviously Nightmare on Elm Street. He's made lots of great movies and just done amazing things in his career before he passed away, sadly, 2 years ago, I want to say. Anyway, and then 3?
That's my guess.
Okay.
You're guessing, I'm guessing.
But so so he was my favorite horror director, and for a while he was my favorite director. And I remember John Carpenter. When I first started to realize who he was, there was a thing that was like his Twitter is like his is I think King of Horror, or I think it was, and everything like that I saw of him was him basically claiming to himself that he was the King of Horror, and I was like, well, I remember, like, to me, John Carpenter's movie, in my heart, is The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. Those are my John Carpenter films. And I felt, well, John Carpenter he did one of the Halloweens, he did the Thing, and then he went off and did other stuff.
Okay.
I felt like him saying, I'm the King of Horror, is kind of, a little bit braggy and a little bit cocky. But also when Wes Anderson has only done horror, well, he did some things outside of horror that didn't do very well. But he was the horror king he was great at horror. And the idea where this guy comes in and claims, is so open to the idea, someone walked up to him and said, you're like the King of Horror. The idea that then he went, I am, and then just ran with it.
Handle.
And it was just like, oh, okay, well, for me, it's Wes Craven. And since that moment, I've lost a lot of respect for him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because when I first started to know him, he's really arrogant, even though I didn't know the guy. Yeah. Just from experience.
Is John Carpenter dead?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Wes Craven is, sadly.
Yeah.
I almost said Wes Anderson a couple times.
You did say Wes Anderson.
I did?
A little bit
okay.
You were talking about it. I kind of wondered if you were saying he used to do horror, but now I know what you mean.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, I mess up words
a
lot.
That's okay. You like Wes Anderson, you like Wes Craven.
A lot of Wes.
I don't know if there's any other Wes directors that come to mind. But anyways, let's talk about this movie.
Yeah, we probably should.
Because that's the movie we're doing.
Yes.
And let's talk about Isaac Hayes.
Isaac Hayes.
He plays the Duke in this movie.
The Duke.
Do you know who Isaac Hayes is?
No.
He's dead as well.
Okay.
He used to do the voice of Chef on South Park.
Oh, really? Hey, children.
He's a singer. He's an actor. He has a lot of classic records, and I was...
Like Suck on My Chocolate Balls?
Well, before that, he actually did other songs, like Walk On By, and like old 70s songs, and he's got an album called Moses. Oh. And the album you actually fold out, and it's him standing here like this on it. It's pretty awesome. One of my roommates had that. So, I mean, in my eyes, I thought Isaac Hayes was classic, and this is one of the things I read on the movie box before. I was like, if I had read that Isaac Hayes was in this, I would have probably watched it a long time ago. But he plays an excellent character. He's got this nervous little eye twitch that he uses to a great suspense. You don't know what he's going to do. You think he's kind of crazy. And, I mean, he is a little bit crazy, but at the same time, he's kind of like got everybody drinking the Kool-Aid, thinking that whatever he does, if he takes the president, which was the whole plan, was to hijack the president and get everybody out off of the island. I mean, who knows? That's like a dog chasing a car. Where are they going to go then? They're criminals. They're going to keep doing criminal stuff.
And also, one big thing I always thought was strange is, so it's one big prison.
Yep.
The president falls in it, and then they take him like he's ours now. He's in your prison. Like, it's like, just go in and get him. And also, I just feel like the big task at hand that they had to send, by the way, only one guy in to get him, was A, a little bit irresponsible, and B, kind of not the thing they should have done. They should have been like, oh, okay, we'll just send in a bunch of people with big guns and bye.
Well, they did send, the police commissioner went in with a bunch of people, right? At the start of the movie, the police commissioner went in with a bunch of cops. And then my favorite character in the movie, I mean, Isaac Hayes is great in this movie, and Snake's great in this movie, but my favorite character is Romero. He's the Duke's little lackey. The first guy you see, he's one of the crazies. Yeah. But he is awesome in his role. His makeup's done awesome, and his mannerisms are just like, you just don't know what to see next. And the first thing he's doing is he's just saying, if your helicopters aren't up in 20 seconds, we're going to kill the president. So that's the premise of them not sending a whole bunch of people in, because they want their president to be alive. And this president has a cassette tape. Do you know what this is?
Yeah, it's a cassette.
You've seen these before, right?
Yes.
See, like my generation, this is what we used to use all the time. This was in our cars. We had them all over the place. They were all the back seat, the floor. I mean, I always had a nice fresh mixtape in my pocket, and anytime I went on, I made tapes all the time.
I'm just imagining
and I
you with
still have a bunch of these. So if anybody wants one, all you got to do is make a comment on the Twitter page or the YouTube page. Just say, I want a tape, and I'll bring it to you. Now, if you're in some foreign country or some strange province that I can't get to right away, I might just mail it. But hey, I have a bunch of them. So yeah, so the president has a tape. And that tape has some crucial information on it about this, which eventually ends up talking about the war, the World War III, right? So, it's kind of like they need to get the president back.
Yes.
It's not like, because Snake's like, just get another president.
Just get another president.
Like
just
Snake,
do it.
You can tell without having to know any more information about his past. Obviously, he's ex-military and all that. But you can tell that he just doesn't really give a crap about his country. But what is kind of confusing to me is they're just going to send him in there anyway.
Yeah.
So he kind of is, he has to do it, right? So why would they have to put the thing in his neck? Because it's like, if you don't get him, you're in there forever.
Yeah, it's kind of...
you know, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that way.
And the big Alcatraz. That's what they should have called it, big Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Big Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, so
Alcatraz.
The gun, I know we've talked about guns in the past, and I do want to hear you talk about this gun that Snake has.
Oh, the revolver with the scope on it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the actual gun is called. There's a Romero.
Oh,
right there.
yeah, that's I know that guy. So, but you are talking about the revolver with the
with the scope on it.
Yeah. Do you hunt?
No.
I do.
Okay.
Well, I usually go target shooting.
Have you ever used that gun?
I've not used a handgun, but I'm just telling you this right now.
Okay.
Usually with those types of scopes, you want your head at it.
Yeah.
So I don't really know why that would be useful. Like, it does kind of look like the whole Han Solo pistol, which is cool, and I will give them credit for that. But, it doesn't really look practical. Like, it's really, like, I get that they're kind of going for a look.
Yeah.
The look wasn't good, but it was a look. I'm not the biggest gun nut in the world, so I don't really know the exact logistics, but all the scopes I've looked through, you got to be like right here. Like, you can't be right up against it, but you got to be like a decent distance.
Yeah.
But if you go too far back, you can't see crap.
No.
So I'm like, I really like the idea of Snake walking around like this.
Yeah. So the whole idea, and I don't like to talk about something I don't know too much about, but like,
yes,
it's worth mentioning this to tell you that it's an Ingram Mac 10 machine pistol. With a rifle type scope on it.
Rifle type scope.
Now this is useless since this weapon is not accurate in any way.
Yep. Yeah.
And you can actually tell by when he shoots that circle in the wall, they're not precise shots. So it's not like you can live in this fantasy world where all of a sudden the Mac 10 is accurate. I listen to enough gangster rap to know that Mac 10 is not a weapon that's used for precision. It's used for spraying a bunch of MFs. You know, like it's
MFs.
I don't.
Can this become like the hip hop podcast, or we just
one day?
I'm gonna spray them MFs.
Yeah. So the point I'm making is that once the Duke and Snake finally meet, they take his weapon, they knock him out, and of course this confuses the police because there's no sensor of Snake anywhere. Yeah. And they all think that the mission's over, so they start going erratic, which only pushes the plot quicker. Yeah. So it's done well. But there's a scene where Romero is sitting there, and let me go back to a point.
Oh yeah. You're just everywhere. You're really excited about this movie.
Well, I watched it a second time, and I was like, did I just really see that? Because at some point he gets stabbed in the leg.
Yes.
Right? So the Duke, when he's talking to him, Duke comes over to the knife or whatever's in his leg, and he's holding onto it. And like Snake is like wincing in pain, and then he stops. The Duke takes his hand off of it, and it's almost like Snake is relieved, but he still has a knife in his friggin' knife. You wouldn't be that relieved the way.
I like that he's like, oh, okay, thank Christ,
Okay,
he just didn't touch it.
So let me get back to the other thing. Is they knock him out.
Yes.
And they're doing target practice on the president. They got the president up against the wall like Moses. Maybe that was a metaphor.
Wasn't that like Jesus?
It is Jesus, but
Oh,
I'm saying the Isaac Hayes record.
Oh, okay,
right?
yeah.
Like maybe that's a reference because Isaac Hayes is shooting at it, right?
Maybe.
We'll have to look into that. But anyways, so he's shooting this weapon at the president, doing precise shots around his arm. And and I don't know if he was trying to open the briefcase with it, but they do. And then so the character Romero comes over and he takes the tape out of the thing. He puts it against his ear, takes the tape, and goes, and he just plops it in his pocket.
Was it? Okay. I like that. Can I see this?
Yep.
I like that he's like, yeah, that's tape. That's definitely that's cassette.
I'm watching everything that guy's doing. And by the way, if you have the copy I have of Escape from New York, there's a widescreen version on one side, and the other side's the standard definition. And I was watching it on a standard TV the second time, and I was like, I'm missing half the stuff I saw on the widescreen because Romero is always on the left side of the screen. You don't always see what he's doing. So anyways, so he's shooting at that, and Romero takes the cassette, and we'll get back to where the cassette goes and how it gets taken care of there. But then the character Brain, which we haven't really talked about too much, I find him pretty hilarious. He basically double crosses Snake every chance he gets, and Snake still lets him do it. Like he's like, oh, you're gonna double cross me again, and he just keeps following him. And of course, every time he sees the Duke, he's like, hi, Duke.
Hi, Duke.
Like, nobody would talk like that.
Hi, Duke.
You know, especially like even when Cabby meets or brings Snake to Brain, he's like, hey, Brain, I brought a friend for you. It's like, you know, I think you should be a little bit more weary of who you let in that door. Well, when they say it's Snake, everyone seems to know who Snake is.
It's like, oh, it's Snake.
Yeah.
Which also, that's the most badass name I've ever heard in my life.
Snake?
Snake.
Yeah.
Snake. Like, could you imagine having
a name
like Snake?
Like, I mean, if they were to redo this movie, do a prequel to it or something.
Oh, they would explain the hell out of it.
It would be awesome. I guess there is a sequel to it, right? I mean, obviously, Escape from L.A. that was done in 96 or 97.
I didn't see that one. Obviously, I didn't see this one either.
But
I'm curious to see, is it just like LA is a prison now? So is there an initiative to make every popular city in the USA into a prison? Like some sick bastards, like I just want to evict the most amount of people, the shortest amount of time.
To just maybe get a Mac 10 and just spray those MFs.
So wait, so now you think we should kill all prisoners?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you're going to build every city into a prison, wouldn't it be cheaper to just kill all the prisoners? I know it's not. This isn't the type of discussion we need to have.
Well, why? You don't want to talk about politics on this podcast?
Well, not with you.
Oh, okay. That's mean. I'm hurt.
Anyway, so Romero takes that cassette. Brain thinks that Snake is dead. And there's a scene where they're talking about what they're going to do, and they're trying to figure out where is his glider? Can't figure out where his glider is. And this whole time, Maggie's just sitting there with the gun, and she's just like sliding her fingers down it in such a phallic way. And it's just like, what is she doing? Like, I'm paying attention to that, and he's all of a sudden figured out, oh, he's on top of the World Trade Center. Of course. He doesn't think any other logic, any other way. There's tons of buildings, could be anything, but he's like, he figures it out. Which, again, moves the plot, right?
Yeah.
So much better. The cop the cop goes in and they get the briefcase because they deliver the briefcase with the note in it, but the tape's not there with the chopper. So they pick that up, and then when they go through the contents of the briefcase and they talk about where the tape is, the police commissioner, Hawk, he's like, warm up the chopper. Wasn't it warmed up? Like, weren't you just in it? Like, how long does it take to cool down? Probably not long.
A couple seconds, you know. What if it's a cold day? Does it cool down faster?
I don't know. It didn't seem to be pretty hot there. Right?
Pretty damn hot.
Yeah. So I'm getting near to the end of my notes here. I don't want to do. There's a bunch of spoiler stuff here. Well, they go to Madison Square Garden where the Duke is, right? And that's where Snake is fighting this guy in the boxing ring. And originally I thought they were going to box or fight or something, but they end up just swinging bats at each other. I don't know why you need a boxing ring for that.
Where else are you going to swing bats at people?
Maybe the boxing ring was set up, and they never changed it, right?
Or maybe they were like, hey, let's box. And then the guy's like, fuck this, I'm grabbing a bat. And they're like, oh, okay. We'll just.
But I mean, who gives Snake the spiked bat? Like, it seems like everyone's booing him when they walk in.
Yeah. But
who gives him the bat? There was some people watching, which is actually really funny. The guys that were watching Snake when he was passed out, if you see that scene, there's a bunch of guys, they're just wearing some crazy clothes. One guy's got a red bandana and purple sunglasses on, and that's it. That's his costume. And I'm thinking, that's the cheapest Halloween costume. Let's go out as Duke's cronies for Halloween.
Hell yes. Let's do it.
Right? Well, I think you could probably pull off Snake.
Yeah, I could. I should have. I really wanted to.
Just dye your hair black and
get a vest.
For sure.
And then get like the eye patch.
So be ready for the Halloween episode.
Where we reference a video from like a year ago.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
So, in the boxing ring, it's kind of an uneventful fight. There's no real winners and losers until Snake gets the spiked bat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome to see that on screen. I bet you there wasn't a whole lot of that going on. There was no tricks at all. Just hit him in the back of the head, and he's gone. Everybody leaves. Like right after that, it's kind of chaos, and they're trying to figure out where the tape is, right? So Brain's like, "Oh, I'll take you to the tape." He double crosses Snake again. The car's sitting there. Isaac Hayes, the Duke's there. And they're trying to figure out where the tape is, and all of a sudden, Cabby's like, "Oh, I got it right here." Yeah, and I was like, I didn't see that exchange. But then on the second viewing, when they show up to the door to talk to Romero, and they kill Romero, and they kill all the cronies and stuff. Romero has Cabby's hat on, and they mention it. It's like, "Where's Cabby?" "I've got his hat." Probably did the switch. He took his hat, Cabby took the tape, all good. So they give, at the very end of the movie, which is I think it's awesome. Like, I remember Cape Fear, I was kind of disappointed that the death wasn't an instant thing.
No, the guy drowned.
But in this, it's intense. Snake's got 1 minute and 32 seconds to go before he climbs up the wall. Lets the president go up first. Of course, why wouldn't you? That's the person you're coming there to save. But you have the tape. Yeah. So you should have gave him the tape, is what I thought. But he goes up and like the Duke just barely misses him with the gun that he has. Is another example of how inaccurate it really is. And eventually, the president at the top, when Snake's about to get shot by the Duke, the president just starts unloading on him like Inglorious Bastards on Hitler style, like just obliterates him.
Which is the best way to go. Like,
and he's doing the same line he was like talking about. It was like the A1. What was it? I wrote this down. The Duke of New York, Pop. The Duke of New York. You're A1 number one. And he just keeps repeating it as he's firing rounds into Isaac Hayes. So the big kicker at the end is the president does his address. And what I thought was really funny was the makeup crew he's getting ready to be on TV, right? And they're like, "President, you're on camera." But before he did that, there's one crew shaving the left side of his face. Yeah. Because this is the right side of my face. So it's the right side of his face. Yeah. And there's another person applying makeup to the left side, already shaved. So it's like they worked, like, let's shave this half so we can do the makeup on this half, and let's shave this half and do the makeup on this side. It didn't make any sense.
It's efficient. I'll give them that.
Yeah. And like, it is efficient. Like the running time of the movie is an hour and 40 minutes, which is the exact same length of this podcast. And
an hour and 40 minutes? God.
I feel like it gets longer and longer. But anyway, so the president is like on camera, and I know that TV is 3,
2. Oh wait,
go right.
You've seen Wayne's World, right?
Yeah. Well, that's not where I got it from, but
3.
Yeah.
Wayne, we can see you counting. Okay. Stop nodding. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't. Wayne's World didn't quite. It didn't have its hold-up power, but maybe we'll talk about that.
We will talk about that someday. I will not let you off the hook with that one.
So the president plays the tape, and it's the tape that they pulled out of the car that Snake was playing the jazz music of. And the next scene you see is Snake taking the tape and just ripping the tape out. I don't want to do that to that because I might use it.
What's in it?
I'm not sure. There's nothing on this. I took it out of a fresh case. I just wanted to have the actual physical prop.
Are you going to use them still?
Cassette. Who knows? I bought them 3 years ago. Who knows?
You bought them 3 years ago.
It took me forever. I went around town here looking for tapes, and I got the funniest reactions from people that I just kept looking for tapes because the reactions from people were amazing.
They're like, really?
Really? What are you doing with it? I was like, oh, I'm making a mixtape for my girlfriend. Oh, that's cute. Did you break up? Things
See,
like
now
that. But I mean, like, that's an awesome way to end the movie, right? Like, Snake still did what he wanted to do. He doesn't give a crap about anybody. Just ripping the tape out, and then the credits roll. Awesome John Carpenter music. End of story.
John Carpenter is really good at music.
And Robert Rodriguez mentioned that when he was talking about Planet Terror. He actually had hired John Carpenter to do the music to that movie. Yep. And it fell through, so he did it himself, but he tried to pull off some John Carpenter. So.
Which you do get that feel in that movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is I'm as a big fan of Kurt Russell. I've always really wanted to watch this movie, and this was one of the movies that was on my shame list. Anyone that's not
shameless is movies you haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
You should have. Okay.
Yeah, they're movies that, and as a person that has seen a lot of movies, especially for my age, I find I'll be talking to someone like, oh, I really love this movie, and they're like, well, have you seen this movie? And I'm like, no, really? You had to pick a movie I haven't seen yet. I'm like, out of every one I have, and so this one I finally got cross off my bucket, like my shame list, and then as soon as I did, I came here to film one of our other shows, Tea Party, one of my other shows. And Dylan said to me, have you seen the Oceans movie? And I said, no. And then he went, oh, well, you should see that. And I'm like, okay. And I found out there's more than one. I'm like, okay, I scratch one off, add a bunch more. Yeah. That seems to be how it goes.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about movies, that there's always more movies.
Always more and more and more.
And I love Netflix for that kind of thing. It's like I love cruising through looking for something that might pique my interest. And the greatest thing is you can just stop it and find something else, or even pick it up later. It's great. So I know we always talk about Netflix, and I hope Netflix is truly listening.
Hey, Netflix. Haven't heard from you for a while. It's like an X. Like, hey, Netflix.
Yeah.
How are you? I miss you.
So is there anything else that you want to talk about? You want to review this movie?
So I did have some questions for you.
Oh, okay.
So about a little while ago, we did Death Proof, one of my favorite movies of all time. Yep. And it was paying homage to Grindhouse films. Yep. And one of the Grindhouse films was Mad Max. Like that was a Grindhouse film, the original Mad Max. Did you find the cars in this movie ridiculously Mad Max? And one thing I didn't get, a couple things I had for questions to do this movie, and maybe I did not catch it mentioning it. Okay. But I've been known to miss a couple things once or twice, because I only watched this movie once. I wish I watched it more. Sadly, I only watched it once. How do they get food? Like, are they all cannibals?
They do mention that. They mention that they're growing food, they're making food. And they also mentioned that they're retrofitting cars, and they found a source of gasoline.
I remember the gasoline part. I remember that part. Yeah. I didn't remember. I didn't think they talked about their crops.
Yeah, they were talking about the things that they do down there. Like they're fully figuring it out. I think as another thing to just keep the plot moving.
Just keep it. He's like, And also, if you're.
But maybe that's what's happened to most of the people. Maybe we were talking about how there should be more people. Maybe a lot of them, either cannibalism or they died.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't imagine. They're probably burning the bodies or whatever. I think a remake is definitely necessary for this because the limitations to what John Carpenter had then could be easily remedied, but it could be easily screwed up too.
Oh, very much so.
They could make it far over the top. But like it would be awesome to have those kinds of things explained, like Snake, a little bit of a backstory of his, even like flashbacks. I mean, he's been in wars and stuff, and we're talking about the future, right? So, I mean, you could show the start of World War III in this movie.
See, the one thing I disagree with the whole remake thing is I'm never on board for remakes, except for once in a blue moon. Yeah. And I always think if you're gonna do a remake, you should do a continuation. You should not remake it as there is already a film of it. But I think this movie is way too 80s to be remade. Like, it is extremely 80s. Like, you cannot fight that it's not 80s.
No, I wouldn't. I just say, I don't care when the movie was made for it to be to be remade. I just think the story enough, like the stuff that they deal with, and like what you're talking about, food. Like I think you could do a whole series of these movies talking about those kinds of things. It's like how they figured out food, how they figured out things.
Escape from agriculture.
Exactly.
Who doesn't want to watch a giant movie about farming?
Yeah. Like, I mean, maybe they should take it into a different country, like Australia.
I was going to say they would...
All of Australia.
I think if they did it nowadays, I don't think they would do New York. I think they would change it because everything nowadays has got to be really dark and deep. So if they did New York, they'd end up bringing, like, they'd be like, no, all these people are criminals. And they'd be like, oh, no. And that it would have, like, a big dilemma.
New York's had its kicks lately. Like, I mean, they've had a rough go. So I think any other city would be okay. Like, I mean, say
Detroit.
Los Angeles or something. Like, but, like, the whole premise is the fact that Manhattan's an island and it's easy to block off, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to kind of have the walls. Maybe all of Mexico is where we send our
maybe Trump
or all of Canada is where we send our criminals.
Maybe Trump was watching this movie and thought, that's what I'm going to do.
You know,
I like that idea.
It makes a little more sense than most of the shit that he's doing.
Yeah, it makes a lot more crap. Like, it makes a lot more sense from the crap he's doing. Anyway, so what's your rating for this movie? What'd you think of it?
I'm going to say it's 4 cassettes out of 5.
You took mine.
Those are rewound cassettes.
Be kind, rewind. Remember.
Yep. Like ready for side A. First song on the mixtape's going to play.
Oh, I love that. I listen
Speaking of mixtapes, if you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2, see that too.
I listen to records. I still use records. Records are fun.
You know, they made a big comeback, and they never really went away. So.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of them. Also, because I'm a big fan of Rebel Rock, like CCR and stuff. Anyway, so I would. You took my cassette thing. I was gonna do the cassettes.
This is my cassette.
I would give it.
Mom.
Mommy stole mine. Fine. I'd give it 5 stupid rifle scopes on pistols for some goddamn reason out of 11.
It was a rifle.
It was a rifle?
It was a rifle.
No,
a MAC-10 is a semi-automatic weapon, I guess.
I thought it was a pistol. It looks like a pistol.
Yeah, no, it's a MAC-10. It's like it's got the clip underneath it. And
this shows how much I know.
You probably think it's a pistol because of the friggin' scope, so you're confused. But I mean, they try to make it look futuristic. That was the whole idea, right?
Yeah.
It defies the logic.
So
I mean, we didn't talk about the logic of the machine gun leg that Rose McGowan had in Planet Terror. So.
See, you just don't touch that part.
No,
you don't go down that rabbit hole.
No.
We could make a whole episode about that.
Well, I think there should be more movies of that.
Yeah. So. I think there should always be more exploitation films. We can never have too many. Yeah. Except for I watched Hobo with a Shotgun. Yeah. That was one we probably did not need.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's my anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
You're happy with it? You're happy. So
yeah. So hit us up on the Twitter.
Yeah.
Which you haven't done yet.
Yeah, come on. We have very little. Well, come on, keep following us.
I want my phone to go off like every 5 seconds.
Yeah. Are you? Oh yeah, I guess yeah. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so both of our personal Twitters are down below, and then there's also the channel's Twitter. NorthStar now has Facebook, so go on that if you still use that. You can go like that page. Subscribe here, and if you like this show, subscribe and like, so then we can continue making more. We would love to keep making these forever and ever and ever. If you have any movie you want us to talk about, please comment down below.
Yep.
Or
if you want a cassette.
Yeah, comment about that.
To you.
Or if you really want to get the message across what movie you want us to watch, down below I'm putting his address. Go to his house and key into the side of his car the movie you want us to review. And I promise you, we will sue you. Well, he will. I will do the movie.
You might want to write
review.
on the other side if the name of your movie is asshole. Just so you know, because that's already there.
Someone wrote asshole one.
Yeah, I know who it was.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, thank you.
See you later. Thanks.
See you later.
Thanks, Benjamin.